Good morning. And once again, welcome. I'm Tim O'Rourke on behalf of all the folks at Footlocker and East Bay and all the volunteers that help us put on the Footlocker Championship Series. We're just delighted that you've joined us once again today for the second of our 3 webinars celebrating the Footlocker National Cross Country Championships. You know, last week we had a great time talking with Jenny Simpson and Meb Kislewski, Dina Dross and Jorge Torres, Ruben Reyna, Molly Seidel, Wayne Kaladi, and several other elite runners about the Olympic Games and training in these chaotic times, and also just enjoying their reflections on the Footlocker National Cross Country Championships. And today, we're not only going to be talking with another prestigious group of American distance runners, but we're also going to be counting down the most legendary girls races in Footlocker history, including our #1 race, which featured a field unlike any high school national championship before or since. So next Saturday, if you want to join us again, we hope you will. We're going to be talking with a whole nother group of elite American distance runners, and we'll be counting down the most legendary boys races in Footlocker history, including at #1, the most important boys race maybe in high school cross country ever, and we'll be counting that down next week. So hopefully you'll join us for our 3rd webinar next Saturday, once again, 11 o'clock Eastern time and 8 o'clock Pacific time. So just as we did last week, you can also join in the discussion at any time by asking questions of any of the folks you see on the screen today, or you can just share with us your favorite Footlocker memory. So we're using the webinar format of Zoom today. So you'll notice at the bottom of your screen, there's an option for Q&A. And at any time, you can click on that Q&A button and type in a question or simply type in your favorite Footlocker memory. And just like we did last week, if we use your question or talk about your memory on the show today, then we're going to send you a $25 East Bay gift card. So by the way, congratulations to the folks who won gift cards last week. Ben Kaya, Brandon Rowe, Madison Osterberg, Ella Thorsett, and Avalon May. Thank you for contributing and congratulations. And your gift card is electronically on the way. So, all right, as you can see on your screen, we have quite a distinguished group of some of America's finest distance runners, and we're going to start by introducing them now. And what I'd like to do is we're going to introduce them and then just take a quick moment to ask you if you would share with us, since we're celebrating 4 decades of the Footlocker National Championship and moving next year when we come back in 2021, moving right into our 5th decade here. So we'd just like you to give us just a quick reflection as we start out with introductions. What do you think was the most important factor in you getting to Footlocker Nationals? We know the Footlocker is unique in that you have to qualify. There are no at-larges. There's no automatic. If you don't run well in the regional that day, you don't make it. So we know that it's tough to get there. So what do you think was the most important one? There's one reason, if you'll just share with us quickly, why you got to Footlocker 1, 2, 3, or 4 times there in the case here as we go through. So if I may, I'd like to start with Molly there real quick. Molly, let me quickly go through. Molly made it to Footlocker in 2001. That was when we were still in Florida. She ran 17:19. She was 10-time All-American Notre Dame. Went on to set the American record at 5,000 meters, 14:42, and 10,000, 13:13, 2-time Olympian. Good morning, Molly. Welcome.
Good morning. It's great to be here with this awesome panel. Well, I had kind of a unique situation. For me, Footlocker was my first cross-country season, and we didn't have a cross-country team at school. So I'd say for me, it was a really good practice in like just having control over my season and having agency to go after a goal I wanted. That was like the first time. So we had to start a team and create a season. And if I didn't have those cross-country races beforehand to practice on, I never would have made Footlocker because it was so new to me, running on that terrain and the way the races played out, running 5K. So yeah, I'd say for me, it was just just like my first chance to focus on a big goal. And it was so motivating. And it was such a great reward to get there.
Well, not bad. 4th place in the national championship in your first race at that level. That's impressive. Let me move on real quick. So Melody Fairchild is with us today. She was a 3-time Footlocker national finalist, made it as a sophomore and, got 2nd, won it as a junior in 17:05. And then in 1990 was the Footlocker national champion and ran 16:39 on the San Diego course, won by almost a minute over second place. There are a lot of people that for the last several decades still call that the greatest high school cross-country race they've ever seen. She was an 8-time state champ in Colorado. She has a new book out. You can see it right over her shoulder there. Girls Running, All You Need to Strive, Thrive, and Run Your Best. So who better to talk about how to do that than the girl that ran the fastest race ever run, 16:39. Welcome, Melody.
Thank you so much. It's really fun to be here. My biggest influence in making it to Footlocker was my high school coach, because I didn't know what then Kinney was, and it wasn't on my radar screen. I entered Boulder High School hoping to make varsity, and by the end of the season, I got on a plane and went to Kenosha and finished 4th, and then went to nationals just to see what I could do by myself. My coach wasn't there, my parents weren't there, and I went in with just a blank canvas to see what I could do, and I ended up second. Started my kick kind of late. I think if I'd started a little earlier, I might have won that one. But I thank my coach for opening my eyes to the next level beyond making varsity.
Oh, wow, outstanding. We've been having a lot of fun the last couple weeks. Hopefully you joined us last week. Carrie's been pushing this Minnesota thing as the center of the cross-country universe, and we're surrounded by all these Coloradoans here today. So Julia, we got to get the California girls in here a little bit here. So Julia Stamps is with us. She made it to Footlocker 3 times. She won it as a sophomore. We said Melody ran 16:39. Julia ran 16:41. So these are the 2 fastest ever. So that's the second fastest time. And she won by over half a minute. She made it back in 95 and 96, was an All-American at Stanford. So Julia, thank you so much. Welcome.
Thank you. Gosh, it's so great to see all these familiar faces again. Gosh, I would say probably to answer your question, perseverance, for sure. You said 3 times make it to Footlocker, but I definitely remember my freshman year when I didn't get to make it. And I was so jealous watching everyone running. And my freshman year, I was sick. I had a ruptured appendix. But gosh, I think for the Californians, we always had state meet, and then right after that, the qualifying. And I just remember thinking to myself that like Footlocker was like the gold standard. So to make that to me was kind of the way to end the season. And you know, I would have to thank all the friends here, really, all these amazing people that are on this panel right now, because these are the people that kind of got us through the season. These are the people that got us through life. I see friends here that I've had for a lifetime. And so I think for me, that's kind of like the one thing that kept me going. So are the people that were competing with me.
Thank you. So yeah, so a little shout out, those Californians have a little tougher, but they're tough kids, so they'll make it there.
Yeah,
All
we also
right,
have
so
this
hey,
weather too.
we've got some veterans and some folks that just ran in the Footlocker here. Katelynne Hart is with us, 3-time Footlocker finalist. Probably has the distinction of having led more miles of Footlocker than anybody else. 3 times and never worse than 4th. That is one of the all-time great records. In fact, she was on our list last week of one of the all-time great high school careers. So as a sophomore got 2nd, and as a junior got 2nd, and 4th as a senior. Her best 17:01 was outstanding high school runner, 2:10 for 800, 4:38 for the mile, 9:52 for 3,200, and now a freshman at Michigan. Welcome, Katelynne.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's so great to be here. Footlocker was always such a great experience for me, and I think the main reason that I was able to get to California was just the combination of my great high school coach and my really supportive parents, and then also just my teammates that I think they definitely helped support me along the way for Footlocker and also just throughout my high school career.
Thanks you so much for joining us this morning, Katelynne. All right, let's move to Colorado for a while here. So Sara Slattery, if you look up the results, you'll see Sarah Gordon when she was a high school runner in 1997. She was 18th when we were in Orlando. She went on to Colorado, 2-time NCAA champion at Colorado, the Pan American Games champion at 10,000 meters. Welcome, Sarah.
Thanks for having me this morning. Yeah, Footlocker was a big, a big part of shaping me as a runner. My season, I think the biggest factor for me, I didn't really, at the time, we didn't have internet. Really, that was when DieStat was coming out, and we had the Harrier magazine. So I would look up, like, I saw Julia Stamp's name so many times. I saw all these names of like runners, and I wanted to be able to, I had only competed, that my first year making Footlocker was my first season of running cross country, and I wanted the opportunity to race the best in the country. And so I had a disappointing state meet where I went out a little too hard and bonked. And so I wanted to redeem myself and have another race and have an opportunity to run against the best. And so I have to thank my high school coach, Sabrina Robinson, for like introducing me to, or taking me to the Footlocker championships, and then getting the opportunity to run in this, get to fly to a meet across the country. And that was the first year it was in Florida. So we ran in basically a lake. And coming from Arizona was a big shock, but it was amazing opportunity, and then kind of catapulted me to want to run and do well, or continued running and doing well on that level. And so, yeah, it was, I definitely have to say it was seeing the names in the Harrier magazine and all these Julia Stamps for sure. And then, yeah, it was a big eye opener.
Yes, kids, we used to look at magazines and not spend all our time on the computer. Julia was California track and running news. That was what we all waited for, to come out to see what was going on around the world. So let me introduce the two that are in screen together. First, Kara Goucher, wheeler in the results from a few years ago. So Kara made it twice to Footlocker and finished 9th in 93 and 17th in 94. Then went on to Colorado, three-time national champion at Colorado, and the 2007 silver medalist in the World Championships at 10,000, two-time Olympian. Kara, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I have to say, Footlocker wouldn't have happened without Carrie Tollefson. I'm a Minnesota girl, and her dad actually told my parents what Footlocker was my sophomore year. So without Carrie, I wouldn't have even known what it was. And so she was really a huge inspiration to me. She won every single state title while I was in high school, including her very last title. I tried to get her, but she was just untouchable. And so her parents actually told my parents about Footlocker. So without Carrie, I would have no Footlocker story, and I wouldn't have met this guy, and blah, blah, blah.
Yes. Outstanding. All right, we'll get to Carrie in a minute, and Carrie can explain to you why she is the only person to win the state championship 5 years in a row. So we'll have to talk about her academic success as we go through. Sitting right next to Kara, Adam Goucher. Adam made it to Footlocker 3 times. Not many boys make it 3 times. Adam was 13th as a sophomore, 15th as a junior, and then in 1993, great battle with Meb Katelynne. We had Meb last week. It was a lot of fun. Adam ran 14:41. Now that's the number 4 all-time on that course there. So he was the Footlocker champ in 93, went on to Colorado, won an NCAA championship indoor track, outdoor track, cross country, and also a U.S. Olympian at 5,000. Welcome, Adam.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me on. It's good to be here, but I guess I have to say, listening to everybody, we all have influences that get us there, that take us the extra step. And I was trying to think what it was for me, and I have to go back to my sophomore year, and I have to give credit, honestly, at least initially, to my mother and my sisters, because I wasn't a runner. I mean, I ran track in junior high school, so for me, my initial high school experience started my sophomore year, and I was a football player. I loved playing football. I loved being out there. I actually, just by chance, went to sign up for the seat my sophomore year for football, and the line was really long, and I had to get to work. So I said, I'll come back tomorrow. And that night, my mom and sisters talked me into trying cross country. And if I didn't like it, I could go back to football the next year. And I said, all right, fine, I'll do it. And 2.5 months later, 3 months later, I was the state champion. And my coach said, "Oh, there's this thing called Footlocker. We have all the seniors are going, but I think you earned your spot. And so if you'd like to go, you're welcome to go." So managed to make it out there, managed to make it my sophomore year and finish it. So in a very quick period of time, I went from a football player and to, I think I'm pretty good at this running thing. So, I have to give it for initially, definitely my mother and my sisters. And then after that, just Judy Fellhauer, my coach. She was one of the most inspirational and amazing people in my life to this day. And she really was pivotal in making me year after year make it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we said you could join us anytime, folks. So if you have a question, please feel free at any time to type in a question. And I'm going to stick one in here real quick because Katelynne Hart, somebody just asked us, Laura Bear just asked, my favorite race finish I ever watched was the one with you and Sydney Mascarelli in 2018. That was an unbelievable finish. She came back on you with about a quarter mile to go, and then you came back on her, and you guys went over that top of the hill. You guys have all run that course for the 160. The question is, so what was going through your mind at the end of that race, Katelynne?
Yeah, that definitely was a crazy race and probably my favorite Footlocker, I think. But I had been at NXN the week before and didn't quite have the race I had hoped to have. And so I kind of went out that race and just wanted to run strong. And so as she was getting at the end, I think I just kind of was like mindless, just trying to get everything I had. But like at the end, I mean, I think I was just like, I was super happy with how the race went because it was definitely a comeback from the week before. And looking back, watching this now, I'm like, I wish I could have gotten her, but it was a great race. And I think we really pushed each other. So.
It was impressive and very fast. It was one of the first times we had two girls run that fast and that close. We've only had two races that finished that close before, and that was amazing. So we want to thank, if we can real quick, jump in there with Rich Jane and thank him providing all these videos for us. We'll show you some more as we go along. So, hey, there's one more person on the screen we want to introduce, the motivation and legend to all those little Minnesota girls growing up apparently here. So I'd like to introduce another outstanding American distance star. She not only is our host for today, but also for national champion broadcast every year. She was a member of the 2004 U.S. Olympic team, 3 times a national champion at 1500, 5 times NCAA champion at Villanova, 13 times Minnesota State champion, and a 3-time Footlocker national finalist herself. And you may have seen her on many ESPN television broadcasts, the New York Marathon, and on NBC for other track and road racing events. So let me welcome Carrie Tollefson. Welcome, Carrie.
Thanks, Tim. I mean, this is like, my heart is exploding today. All my friends from all over the country, this is what sport's all about. It's obviously about getting to the finish line first, but having reunions like this and seeing people that pushed us to be the very best that we could possibly be. And hopefully we have a lifetime. I mean, some of us are in our 40s now, but hopefully have a lifetime of getting back together and remembering how fun it was to be at Footlocker. And, Kara talked about how my dad and my mom and, other people were involved in maybe helping us Minnesota girls get to the regionals. But I would have to, throw that right back at Kara and say it was because of the girls from Minnesota that wanted to continue on to be really good and to represent. So that's one of the reasons why I went to Footlocker. It was Kinney my first year, and then Footlocker my last 2 years. And then Adam, even, seeing Adam on screen again, he and I became friends after the first year of running there. And so he came out actually to Dawson, where I grew up, and watched me play basketball. I mean, it's just one thing after another. There's all these stories of Sarah and Molly and I racing in Europe, and, Julia and I talking about being moms and, getting to know Melody more and Katelynne. It's just so fun to be back here.
All right. Well, Carrie, before we begin counting down our most legendary girl races in history, I know you're excited to talk about all with our group here because we're entering a time like none other. The goalpost keeps getting moved, training sessions, we're not with our teammates. Some people are with their teammates. So I know you're interested in talking with our folks about planning, training, and even racing in these trying and very tough times. So Carrie, I'll turn it over to you for a while.
Yeah, well, let's face it, it's been tough. All of us are dealing with the pandemic and, everything else that's happening around the world in our own way. But we've had some amazing role models in this sport, and one that couldn't be here today with us that brought a video to us is Emma Coburn. So we've seen Emma at the championships year after year because New Balance has been a supporter. And we want to hear from Emma about how it is to train through this time. She's still trying to make that Olympic team and to represent. But listen, this woman is amazing. She's an 8-time US champion. For the last 8 years, she's won every single US championship. She is a world champion. She's got a bronze medal from the World Championship. She's got the silver medal from the Olympic Games. She's an NCAA champion. I mean, this girl can do everything. So let's hear what Emma has to say about Footlocker.
Hi, this is Emma Coburn. I run for New Balance, and I know that everyone's a little bummed that Footlocker isn't happening this year. I personally love going and love being a coach. I've been a coach for Team Midwest for the last couple of years. I just want to let you guys know that even though this year has been challenging and you aren't getting the races that you traditionally get to do, all the training you put in still is in the bank. It's still going to be useful, and you can run some fast times later on. Some of my favorite memories of being a coach for Team Midwest, we've been winning a lot, so that was always fun. I loved getting to hang out with the team before and after the races. And to everyone who is working hard for future goals, I wish you the best of luck, and we're in this together, so just stay positive.
We are in this together, and so nice that Emma could, come on in her own way today. But back to the entire field that we have here today, or all the panelists. We want to open it up for you guys. So if you all can unmute and let you guys talk a little bit about your experiences, obviously, but we want to talk about how you're dealing with this pandemic and give some advice to the athletes out there right now that are going through this. And it's super hard, something that a lot of us older athletes have never gone through. So maybe let's start with you, Katelynne, because you're in this, you're in college right now, and your seasons are all screwed up. So how are you dealing with it?
Yeah, well, I think obviously like being a freshman in college, there's a lot of new things going on. And so I think, I guess the benefit of it is just being able to get to know my team and kind of get used to the different college training. But obviously, it is a bummer not getting to race. And, a lot of my teammates talk about all of the amazing opportunities that they've been able to have in college. So I think, though, it's definitely for me just, trying to learn everything now and then like looking forward to all the things I have coming in the future. So it's definitely been tough, but I think, like you said, we're all in this together, and hopefully it'll only get better from here.
Yeah, Sara, can you jump in, because you are right in the thick of it, coaching athletes like Katelynne in this time?
Yeah, for sure. I think this has probably been the toughest year coaching for me. Just I get as motivated as the athletes do for big goals and for dates, and not having, our conference was not allowed to compete this season. There are conferences that did get to compete. So I think not having like those things is tough mentally, but what we've done is made it kind of fun, and we've done some challenges within our conference, like virtual challenges, and done some open like races within the teams to try to keep us going. And we're really excited. We do have a season coming up, so we're targeting those things, and we've taken this time to really work on like our weaknesses and some things that we've felt like have kept us from winning or being our best. And so I had the kids at the beginning of the season, we've set some goals of the things that we need to work on during this time. And so that's what we've been focusing on. And yeah, but I definitely think just kind of refocusing on those things and targeting like the future for this next season has been kind of our mental shift, because you do have to have a goal. Like, we're all competitors, and that's what keeps us going. So we had to target some things.
Yeah, I think it's been interesting. I've been watching your Instagram and also Molly's, and you two are coming together. And it's kind of fun to think about next year. There's going to be a book out where you're kind of interviewing all these different athletes, hearing their high school, college, professional careers, how they can give back to the sport. So talk about that, and maybe Molly can chime in about your next endeavor and how you get through these tough times and maybe have some big goal like you guys have to get you through.
Yeah. Personally with Molly, I think the timing we had the idea of writing this book about a year ago before the pandemic started. And we were a little nervous about trying to put this together while she's trying to make the Olympic team again. And I'm in the middle of coaching. We're always in season. So the pandemic actually helped us in having a little bit more time to focus on that. And so, yeah, we're going to try to get that done. We're turning everything in January, and will be published a year from now. But it's been a really, during this time has been a really fun time for us to interview all these amazing women, and that have like part of this book is talking about Footlocker and these women and who have done well at the high school, college, and pro level, and the things that they've overcome and things that they've faced and how they've come out successful. So it's been very inspiring and fun, and I think it can be our goal is to make it a tool for girls. Like, hopefully they can connect with someone and hear something that was something that I always wanted to have when there was no internet. We just had the Harrier magazine, and I just saw these machines, and I wanted to know, like, how did these girls get there? So that's our goal, is really to hopefully help that next generation connect with someone and understand what they overcame.
Carrie, if I can jump in, we're going to give Cooper credit for that question, because you just asked his question, which was, Cooper Austin said, for athletes still running competitively, how do you stay motivated? So we'll give him credit for that and send him a card. And another question, so this has come up a lot lately. So we used to train in groups. Everybody met at practice, and it'd be 40, 50 kids, and you hung out with everybody, and now you're training by yourself so much. Molly, how's it like to train? Are you having to train by yourself? Are you able to get in a group? And how do you stay sharp if you have to do a lot of that by yourself now? Molly?
Yeah, just echoing what Sara said about how fun it's been to work on that project. But yeah, training by myself is something I do a fair amount of, but ideally I have 1 or 2 training partners to get me through those hard workouts or long runs. And that's been the hardest part about all of this, I think, just getting out there every day. And when you don't feel great, you don't really have your partner to chase or to just share that goal with. That accountability to get the work done is always nice. And it's just more fun when you can kind of joke around on the warm up and on the cool down. Makes the workout less hard. So that's definitely been the hardest part about the pandemic. And fortunately, I think some people have been able to kind of bubble up in 2s or 3s with kids on their team. But I think we're all gonna be really happy when we can get back in the team huddle again and running big packs and running big road races. Yeah, definitely you miss that synergy of having other people working hard next to you.
I want to go to the Gouchers here because it'd be fun to hear from both the guys and the girls side of things. And Nikki Gamboa has asked what sets Footlocker meets apart from the regular high school meets, which I think is really kind of an interesting thing. So Adam and Kara, can you talk about that a little bit? What sets it apart?
Well, at least in my career, it was the only championship race for high school cross country. And it's just, you go to your regional meet and they take the top 8 people, at least it was then at that point. You take the top 8 people in that race, and they in 4 different regions, and you go to San Diego and race to see who's the best. And you just didn't have that anywhere else. So it was just the competition. It was the only opportunity really to compete against the best other high school athletes in the country.
Yeah, I would definitely say the competition. it blew my mind to get on an airplane and fly to a race and to not have to share a bed with somebody. Like at the state meet, I always had to share a bed. So it really just changed my perspective of like what's possible. Wow, Kara, wow.
So dramatic.
It really like changed my perspective of like what was like, where could running take you? You know, like I was really fortunate that I had Carrie, honestly, as someone that really motivated me to be better and to try harder. But it really showed me that there was so much life beyond Minnesota. And so for me, it just showed me like where running could actually take you. I mean, I never would have dreamt of going and running professionally if I hadn't gone to Footlocker.
Mm-hmm. Did you two kind of get a little spark there at Footlocker?
Well,
no, sorry.
No, Carrie, we've told this story, but
No.
yes, the only time Adam talked to me at Footlocker was when he asked me where you were. So no spark, that came later, but hey, that's where we met.
We met there, yes.
There's a lot of couples that come out of Footlocker. It's interesting. Maybe it didn't happen that weekend, but you know, Sara, your husband was at Footlocker. Steve was there. I mean, the Halls, like lots of people met there. It's really kind of fun.
Yeah, we met for the first time at Footlocker, and we remained friends, but that maybe like Steve calls it a date, but I don't think we had a date at Footlocker. We went and got ice cream, and but we did end up dating once we both went to Colorado. So that was like the first time we really ever met or hung out was at Footlocker.
Well, Melody, we see this big honkin' book. So we talked about Sara and Molly's book, and then you have your book back there too. And I've had you on my podcast. It was so fun to interview. Talk about that. And I mean, what it's been like year after year to watch this race and to wonder if your record's going to finally go down that year.
Oh, I've just been, I'm just waiting. I hope for it every year. I've had the honor of coaching a bunch of young women here in the Boulder area, and they could be doing it, you know, in the next few years. There's some great talent around here right now, but yeah, I'm just I really think I'm pushing 50 now, and don't feel like it, but I think, you know, I would love to see the perspective of young people and their running careers be, you know, actually that Footlocker is just a step. It's just a step along the way. And my concern, or my interest right now is in helping young runners have a very wide angle view on their running careers. And because we all know on this panel that running is a lifelong endeavor, and especially young women don't hit their peak until they're in their 30s. And so a big motivation for the book that I wrote with Elizabeth Carey is to help girls see that long-term view. And gosh, you know, if you make it to Footlocker, I almost hope for girls and guys that it would be like a little bit like it was for me. It was a surprise. It was like this thing that I didn't know about. And we, as some of you have mentioned, you know, we had the Harrier magazine to wait for in the mail, and that was it. And now the kids are 24/7, 365 days a year looking at results. And it's a lot of taxation on the psyche. And so I hope, you know, in writing the book, I hope that to help diffuse that intensity for kids and realize that you know, that they're running right now. It's awesome. Yes, give everything you have to it, and be okay with the results, because the longer you stay with it, as all of us here know, the better it gets. And it's not about the wins all the time. And so we hope to, with our book, educate the girls about their bodies and how to honor them. And, you know, if young women can be at Footlocker and running at that intensity and have a whole healthy body and mind, then that's wonderful. And we just hope that more and more and more girls are feeling like they're jumping off a springboard into the next level of running, that you know, high school championship is not the end, it's just the beginning.
Yeah, I love that. You know, we talk so much about the win, right? But there's so much more that goes into our sport. And actually, I think a lot of times we learn more from those losses or those disappointing races. We really figure out who we are. And Julia, I want to go to you. You know, you have had such an amazing high school and college career. You've been through ups and downs. You said beforehand you were willing to talk about it. First of all, I have a virtual background and you do not, and it looks like you have a virtual background because where you are, it's so pretty. But Julie, can we talk a little bit about, you know, your Footlocker career, having that big win and then having some obstacles to work through? And actually, Alex, he wrote in and asked about having obstacles and how you get through it. So could you talk about that, Julia?
Sorry, guys. I lost connection there for a little bit.
You're okay. You're good.
So I didn't hear you until you just said my name. So I don't know what the question is yet,
Well,
but we'll
good.
go from there.
Yeah, Alex and I were just wondering, you know, you had such a great high school career and actually even before high school. So can you talk about the ups and downs of sport? You won at Footlocker and then you really had some struggles to get through and then to go on to college and have a good career, but yet still have some obstacles. So talk about the obstacles you went through.
Oh my gosh, there were so many. But then again, you know, I think I just had like such a passion for the sport itself. And, you know, when I mentioned it was all these people on this panel that kept me going, like it really was. Yeah, I had a great race my sophomore year. But, you know, I probably had the biggest learning experience my junior and senior year. You don't really appreciate those wins until you've had a loss like that. And so, you know, I have a lot of respect for everyone out there, especially what we're all going through right now, right? We set ourselves up, we think, okay, let's achieve this goal. And then all of a sudden there's a setback, and sometimes you have control over it and sometimes you don't. And no, I mean, it was, as I'm seeing myself here, I'm like, oh, ouch, do I have to see that again? But again, it's taking those losses and trying to do something with it. And, you know, Melody, huge props to you and what you're doing in the running community right now with your book. I've heard it time and time again. But at the end of the day, if you love running, it's something that's always there for you. And I might not be competing at all these amazing individuals levels right now, they're on this panel, but every day I'm still out there. I'm taking my kids out there. I have the biggest amount of respect for it. And, you know, I just am still incredibly passionate about the sport in general.
Julia, I still remember that 5 a.m. run that we did from downtown Boulder when you were in Boulder for some event, and you'd been up since 3, you'd had 2 cups of coffee, and you talked the whole time through the darkness.
Yeah, I think yeah, and again, that's what's so fun about it, right? So it's something that we always have there. And actually, I really enjoyed that run. We have to do that again soon.
Very good. Let me throw Adam in here real quick. We got to get to the girls' races or we'll be here till lunchtime. Adam, Josiah Magley asked about it. You just read Running with the Buffaloes. So,
Oh, yeah.
I'll bet you get that. I bet you get a lot of questions that start with that.
Yeah.
Anyway, he said the night before the NCAA championships, hotel was crazy, loud. How do you stay focused in a big meet like this or any big meet now? How do you stay focused on the goal at hand when everything around you is kind of going crazy?
Yeah, that's a good question. The distractions are going to be there, especially, I mean, no matter what level you're at, right? Like, I think that you have to really, one of the things that helped me out was really my visualization, my preparation going into the race, and just focusing on what the goal was, what I was there to do. The night before the NCAA championships, my final season, 1998, and I finished second as a freshman, and so this was and I hadn't won the championships yet, so this was it. And there was some band playing at a bar across the street, and I was just like I'm like, okay, laying in bed saying, just relax, stay calm. But I'm getting so mad. I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. I got up, I stuffed toilet paper in my ears, and and then when it came down to it, as I relaxed and I said, you're ready to go, no matter what. I always believe your sleep comes, your best rest comes 2 nights before the race. If the night before the race you're too nervous to sleep, it's okay. Don't worry too much about it. And so I just kept telling myself, hey, you're okay, you're ready, stay focused. And eventually I fell asleep and got up and it was a great day. I had a great day. So just stay the course.
It doesn't change your preparation. Your preparation is still there. So, right?
Yeah, your preparation, you put in the work. And one night of bad sleep, you may really panic if it's the night before, I get it. But I think everyone on here has had a night before a race where you're just like so ready to go or so stirred, so nervous that you just, you don't sleep very well. But it doesn't really affect your race. Like if you're ready to go and you stay focused on what you've done, your preparation to that point, you're gonna be okay.
Very good.
I get nervous just sitting here, like, I raced with most of you, and like hearing you guys talk, like it brings me back to the night before a race where we're all sitting around a table, like eating and, talking about hopefully everything else but the race at times. But I just get nervous. And actually, I think Molly, it'd be fun to hear from you, because the next person we're going to hear from also sent a video in, and it's one of your training partners, Emily Sisson. And they put it out there, Molly, that they're gunning for your half marathon record, which she's going to be racing here shortly. So can you talk a little bit about, Molly, people chasing for your records and what it's like to train with some of the best in the world before we get to her video?
Yes. Well, the records are nice, but I always say they're on loan. So this one is going to get loaned to Emily pretty soon. I'm pretty sure there's not much that could stop her at this point. She's really fit, and she's got the built up motivation of a year of no racing, so I would say she'd run through a brick wall if she had to get it. So yeah, that one's been coming. But yeah, I feel like, what was the original question? Sorry.
I don't even know. I mean, we were just talking about Molly. You lost me when I was like thinking about her running through a brick wall, because her focus and your guys' focus, and you guys, like you said, you train on your own, but you're both in the same program, and you'll get together for different, recovery days or workouts here and there. But what is that like? I think for kids that have people that they race against, but they're on their own team, they're so competitive, but you guys still have such a love and care and true, genuine friendship. What is that like?
Yeah, I think, it's something in our group we've always had, and it's easier when a lot of our athletes are from other countries, a lot of the women, so it wasn't really as much crisscrossing for team spots and records, but we still, that's where the base was set for, like, hey, like, if they're here with you, you're going to get fitter. If they're better than you, you're going to get better, and honest effort on the day of the race, or else, it's insulting to not do your best. It'd be insulting to be like, so we just know it's about respect, and you all show up on the line and you try and run as fast as you can, and that's all there is to it. So I think we've got that down. So that's, it's not, I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying that's kind of what we've grown to make our normal. And it's cool to see that in a lot of other groups too. I think you're seeing these close record trade-offs, and we have a lot of women that are really talented right now, and only 3 spots for teams at the distance events. So it's like, it's the way you cooperate on a team to have kind of that vibe going early. So yeah, that's been really nice. It's been a big bummer, actually. This is the year that we haven't trained together very much, because I got injured during the marathon buildup, and so we didn't train much together during that. And then the pandemic happened, and now we're in different states right now. So it's like a huge bummer. But yeah, definitely hoping to kind of grow our group a little bit and have maybe a few more women to work with.
Yay, the more the merrier. Well, let's hear from Emily. She's a 4-time Footlocker finalist. She's an amazing runner. She won at the NCAA level. She won at the US level. And now she's gunning for all these American records, Molly's included. And she has given us such great advice on how to get through this time, but also her fun that she's had at Footlocker.
Hi everyone, my name is Emily Sisson and I wanted to come on and give some advice to the Footlocker cross-country runners. I know it's a bit of a difficult time right now, and what I have found pretty helpful is just focusing on what I can control. And that may be just focusing on building a really strong base so that when races do resume, which they eventually will, I'm ready to run fast and have some good performances. So I think like taking this time to focus on things maybe you don't always have time for, strengthen any weaknesses, and just look forward and build that momentum so that when the races start, you're ready to roll. I have some of the best memories from Footlocker cross country in high school, and I know once it's safe to do so, they're going to do an amazing job holding these events. So hang in there, guys. Races will resume, and yeah, good luck.
Outstanding. Well, thank you so much. We said we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the great races, so we had a group together and talked about the greatest races in Footlocker history, and we've come up with 8 races that we consider to be the most legendary. So we're going to talk about those for a couple minutes here, and we'll get to number 1 here in a second. But 6, 7, and 8 we chose because they were the 3 closest races in Footlocker history, all within 1 second. And so Carrie, in 2003, number 8.
Yeah, we have Caitlin Caldebach, who was a junior, and she was from Colorado, and sophomore Mel Lawrence going head-to-head all the way to the finish line. One of our favorite finishes. We're going to watch them come in here now.
In high school yet, and Caldebach's undefeated. They both look incredibly relaxed as they sprint towards the finish line. There goes Caldebach, though. She is just powering away.
Boy, Mel Lawrence had a great, she made it all 4 years, finished second 3 times at Footlocker National.
This was Marie Lawrence's race to lose, and Caitlin Caldebach in the last 200 meters came from a distant second to win the 25th Footlocker Cross Country Championships.
Yeah, big move at the bottom of the hill by Mel, and Caitlin held on, kept going back and forth. It was an awesome finish.
All right, how about coming back from when it looked like it was over, our number 7 race, senior Megan Goethel. She makes up, I think, about 20, 25 meters in the last 100 to edge out Chelsea Sisson. They're both timed in 17:07. And this is probably the greatest finish from returning from a race, yeah.
Dig, dig, dig.
All right, Carrie, you have one we've already seen talked a little bit about.
Yeah, this is a favorite, especially for Ron Blaha, who everyone knows here on the panelists, but it was one of our closest from 2018. It was when Katelynne Hart was a junior, and first-time Footlocker finalist was a sophomore, Sydney Mascarelli. They battled back and forth, back and forth. You know, you always talk about this in the final 100 meters. If someone comes up on your shoulder, what are you going to do? How are you going to dig? Let's watch these final 100 meters here.
60 meters to go. Mascarelli and Hart. Hart coming back, though. She doesn't want to give it up. That's Hart in the purple. Mascarelli in green. And Hart back in the lead now. Mascarelli and Hart. Hart now over the top of the hill.
Caitlin, you must get so fired up watching this.
And here comes Mascarelli back. And Hart coming back. Hart and Mascarelli. Down to the wire. And Mascarelli would be the Footlocker National Champion.
Pretty awesome.
And then we already asked about, you'd like to go out hard. I know in all those races there, you are not afraid to take that pace out. Have you always run like that?
Yeah, I don't know what it was about that, or when I started doing that, but yeah, I think it's just since freshman year, and like my coach definitely tried to kind of tell me to go out slower or just go out a little bit smarter, and I think I've gotten better at that as I've gotten older, but yeah, definitely. I remember that race specifically. I was leading at the mile, and I remember like my parents and coaches saying like, yeah, you look so confident, but I remember thinking in my head, like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm here, so we're just going to go through with it and keep running hard.
I think it was like 16:27 at 3 miles. That was a great race. All right, let's go on to number 5 here on our most legendary races. Little sophomore out of California, came within 2 seconds of the course record here. So number 5 race, 1994. Melly's course record was 49:41. Let's watch that race. Julia, do you remember this?
I do. That was a fun run.
Oh my gosh.
That hill. Everyone knows the hill. What were you thinking?
You know, I trained so much on hills. I just thought to myself, this is where I'm stronger at. And I think still I'm stronger going uphill than I am down. But no, it was a really, really fun race. I remember just feeling effortless and not even thinking that there was a record to go after. I remember finishing and I said, you were 2 seconds. And I'm like, 2 seconds from what? 3 seconds from what? No, it was a fun race.
Congratulations. And then our number 4 race, Carrie, 2019.
Yeah, this was a really fun one. This was last year. We had 3 girls that went under 16:56. Pretty awesome. Zofia Dudek, she ended up running so well. Lots of people were wondering because we hadn't seen a lot of her races. She was overseas, came back over, and she looked great. She won a big race today. She won the AAU.
Here we go, down to stretch. Dudek in the
But here we go. We're watching
Starlipper in the blue.
back and forth. Marley Starlipper there in second.
Zofia Dudek gonna try to hold that move. Here she comes. Marley Starlipper coming back.
Just comes up on her shoulders. Zofia digs one more time and holds her off.
Another move. Zofia Dudek, she's pulling away. Oh my, Zofia Dudek.
Damn, you almost lost your
will be
voice.
the 2019 Footlocker National Champion, 16:46. Oh my, Starlipper.
It is so much fun. Katelynne, I was going to tell you, I forgot to say when in that race when you were running with Massarelli, the crowd was so big I couldn't see. I stood up and lost my headphones for a minute. Stephen Luke, the guy that works with us, had to grab my arm and say, "I have to sit down." I said, I can't. I want to see the anyway. So, all right. Well, that leads us to a number 3 race. And Molly, this will be interesting. I'd like to hear what you have to think because you said it was your first time there. We get to Florida in 2001, the Footlocker Nationals. It's a great field. And then Amber Trotter, oh my gosh, 5:05 at the first mile. 5:05 for the first mile, 10:22 at 2 miles. Do you remember that race, Molly, how fast it went out?
I do. I used to like to go out fast, and I think I tried to kind of be a few feet off her and quickly realized I couldn't do that. And I sat back and ran with Erica Odlog a lot of the way. But yeah, she was flying from the start. Very early on, decided to go for it.
It was incredible because you're right. There were a lot of good girl milers in that race too. And I remember we were talking about, well, at least it'll be a fast first mile. We'll see who can hang, but that was an incredible race. It really is. We talked about Melody's race. This is a special race because it's the fastest ever because, obviously you can see when we were in Florida, that was completely flat course. And she ran 16:24. So she came by 3 miles at under 16 minutes that day. It was phenomenal. All right, so let's get to our number 2 race of all time. Karen?
Well, it's our fastest race ever. Melody, it's yours, where you ran this course record of 16:39 that still stands to this day. You had such an amazing career at Footlocker, well, Kinney. And behind you, Amanda White. She was 3rd. She went on to place 2nd and 1st. And then just a little known runner, Dina Drawson was in that race as well, along with Jen Rhines. But here we are watching you run your race, powering home. What does it feel like to watch this again and quick memory from you?
It's always fun. It's the legend in my mind gets bigger every time my favorite memory of that. I think what I always think about when I see that is what I had to do mentally to come back and do that. When I won as a junior, I was surrounded by the media and this wonderful woman named Carol Sharkey, who worked for Kinney way back when. she was very passionate, and she treated all of us like her own child. But I remember she had a nervous energy, and she came up to me and said, after my junior year when I won, do you think you can come back next year and do it? It's a lot of pressure. And then in my mind, the memory is that about 20 other people came up and asked me the same question. And I remembered just distancing myself mentally and emotionally from the experience and saying, yeah, I have to be stronger than this beast, because it's already being put out there that it's almost impossible to come back and win again. So that became my mission, and I visualized winning the race every day until I came back as a senior and set the record. And it really was a transcendent experience. That was probably top 3 race experiences mentally of my life, because it felt like I had to really elevate myself to a pretty rare place mentally in order to pull that off. And I was happy that I set the record, but I didn't go into it. Was a goal in the back of my mind, but not the primary goal.
Very cool.
Outstanding. Well, hey, we want to thank you folks here. We're not done. We have the #1 race coming up, and we'd like to talk a little bit about that. But in order to make sure we were able to get everybody together, Jordan Hussey is racing in Spain, the marathon, in just a few hours. So we were able to talk with her and Ashley Brazman and Kathy Kroger last week. And so we're gonna talk about that for a couple minutes. So we'd like to thank, though, our panelists, all these folks here, you know, Carrie and Kara and Adam and Melody and Sarah and Julia, Katelynne, Molly, all you folks. You know, it's been fun to talk to folks, and everybody we've asked, everybody's not only said the same thing. Sure, everybody said yes with a smile, and they wanted to talk about it. And I'll have you know that Carrie was pushing for this to not be virtual. She wanted us all to be at the Hotel Del. So almost.
Still time. There's still time.
All right. So we're going to be back in 2020. So once again, thank you so much to all of you. And let's enjoy now. We're going to enjoy our interview with Jordan Hussey, Ashley Brazman, and Kathy Kroger. The first race, #1. It's the only race ever where we had 3 people who had won the championship previously. So here is our #1 race. And now the #1 Footlocker girls legendary race of all time. And you can probably make a good guess as to what year we chose if you can identify the 3 ladies who have joined us on the screen there. And they are, of course, Jordan Hussey, Kathy Kroger Holstein now, and Ashley Brazman. And they participated in a race that not only was unique to the Footlocker National Championship, but I think also rare and possibly even unique to all college or high school sports or any championship that falls into a 4-year window. In 2008, the Footlocker National Championship had 3 previous Footlocker National Champions, all in the same race. And if that wasn't enough, we also had future Olympian Shalia Kipp was in there, and the girls who would go on to win the next 2 years. Megan Goethals would win the following year, and Ashlyn Cuff in 2010. And we had the NXN champion that year. Chelsea Stenson was right in the middle of it. And she set a new course record in winning the South Regional that year. And all of that, and then a virtual unknown girl from Colorado, Lily Allie Mclaughlin, who came within a quarter mile of almost stealing the whole thing. So it was a great year, and that's our #1 choice for the legendary girls race. And so to talk about that 2008 race, we need to go back a little bit. We need to go back to 2005 and a freshman girl from California who would run the fastest time ever by a freshman girl in the Footlocker race. Jordan, do you remember that year all the way back there and what you were thinking when you went to Footlocker for the first time?
I do. It's so funny hearing your voice, Tim, because it just gets the nerves going and the adrenaline going. It's such a classic, iconic voice and race, and yeah, I just remember the whole experience after qualifying Footlocker West and just trying to get to nationals and then meeting all the other girls, and I mean, we're just kids, and I remember going to the hotel and just little things like, oh my gosh, they're all just like me. I remember telling my mom, everyone's holding a water bottle, like they're they're getting ready for the race. So like little stuff like that, and just like I felt like Mel Lawrence on the team. She's another iconic name, and she was kind of like my mom there, just like taking care of me, showing me the ropes. And then I remember going out in the race and just I had no idea what to expect. And then I just kind of did my best and ended up in front. And yeah, it's funny kind of watching my post-race interview after that. I just looked so young and didn't really know what was going on or how significant it was. But it always, now in my professional career, I look back to that race and just kind of remind myself that sometimes it's better when there are no expectations, because then the next years it got harder and harder to try to come back and win. I'm sure we'll talk about that in 2008, but it reminds me to just like go out, do your best and run hard, and sometimes just forget about everything else.
In that race, Jordan, you guys kind of closed the gap, and at 2 miles you took off and you ended up winning by 14 seconds. I mean, as a ninth grader, that's a lot to kind of hammer home, and you just kind of obliterated the field. Was that the plan? I really had no race strategy at that time. I feel like in high school, no one really had a strategy, or at least my plan was just like run as hard as I could. And it just so happened like the first 2 miles, people were running faster than me, which we were all kind of not used to that. I think like people would show up to regionals and be used to winning their state meet by several minutes and things like that. So I wasn't really used to having people around me. So I was just, I just happened to be in the lead on that hill, and then I was just going and hoping no one would catch me.
That was a great race. And there was a little girl from the South who got, what'd you get, 16th, Kathy, huh? Just broke 18 minutes as a freshman, and then came back the following year as a sophomore. You'd had a really great year. And so that was 2009 race, or excuse me, the 2006 race. Let's take a look. So Kathy, you remember coming back, you were strong at that point, you had experience there, but you didn't take the lead. You followed for a while there, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I think I had always heard that it took less energy to follow someone than to lead yourself. So I tried to stay behind people for as long as I could. And then I had a window to take the lead, and I was able to just run as hard as I could and turned out to win that year.
That tunnel right there, Kathy, is so loud when you're coming in, and all the fans, and you had Aurora Scott behind you. What did it feel like in that moment when you were, you finally opened up that little gap and you were going to win the Footlocker Cross Country Championships?
It was pretty unbelievable. I mean, like you had mentioned, I was there the previous year and placed 16th, and that was a huge deal for me to qualify. And then after placing 16th, just one spot off of All-American, I came back the next year really, really motivated to place in the top 15 to be All-American. And I don't think I was really a favorite to win necessarily. And I think that, like Jordan said, kind of not having that target on your back makes it a little bit easier just to run free and not think about pressure or expectations. And so it was surprising and exciting to come in first at that time.
You ran really well. You had a good year. I mean, you and Aurora ran a heck of a race in the South region. So you must have known you were in pretty good shape.
Yeah. I mean, Aurora was a great competitor. It was a privilege to be able to race against her multiple times in that year, and to have her pushing me really helped me to improve. So I was thankful for that.
All right. And that leads us to the following year. We had two previous champions coming back. So we had the battle between, Kathy and Jordan, and this little girl from Florida comes along and decides, well, wait a minute. And that was, of course, Ashley Brazman. Ashley, going into it, you must have known about Kathy and Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, I think unlike Kathy and Jordan, I kind of failed to make it to Footlocker the first freshman and sophomore year. And so I mean, I didn't even win regionals this year. I was 6th at regionals. So I just, again, didn't have a target on my back going into nationals and just ran with no pressure and just wanted to have fun. And, my goal this year was just to make it to the national championships, is something I had failed to do the 2 years before because I put so much pressure on myself. So I think I was completely shocked when I ended up winning this year. And people say you'll never forget this moment, and I don't think I'll ever forget this moment. It's cool to see everyone coming back, 12 years later, and we're still all probably running to some extent, but this was a really exciting, fun experience this year with no pressure at all.
We're going to get into what you're doing now and you're racing as a trail runner, but and also on the roads. But you said in one of your interviews leading up to the Olympic trials that was your favorite race memory, winning the Footlocker championships. Is that still to this day one of your favorite memories?
Yeah, it's just such a fun community, and I think Footlocker does such a great job at putting on this event, and it's so fun. I mean, even a couple of years later now, living in Colorado, I still run with some of these girls that I met at Footlocker, and it's just crazy how over a decade later, you can still feel that connection and remember this experience. And it's something that I'll always remember from high school, but I think that community was one that's followed me through for the past 12 or 13 years too, which has been fun.
Interesting. We sometimes forget your 15, 16, 17-year-old girls when we put all this pressure on you. Jordan, that must have been a lot. You come back the sophomore year and not won. And then so your junior year, you decide to take that pace out like wow, you really went out hard. And what's interesting about all four of these races you guys run, the winner never was the leader early on, but you really took that hard. Were you feeling a lot of pressure that year again, do you think?
Yeah, it's funny. I was going to say this earlier, but I remember when the next morning after I won it as a freshman, we were driving back because I live like 6 hours north of San Diego. And I remember telling my parents, like, I could be the first one to win this 4 years in a row. And like, I was pretty naive, and I thought I really honestly thought that I was going to be able to do that. And then the next year I was just like, I was so nervous. Like, I remember the first time I was fine sleeping, whatever. Like, as a sophomore, I showed up and like, I think the 2 nights before the race, I didn't sleep at all. Like, I was just, I was really, really nervous. It's good though. Like, it was just a good experience for the future. And then, yeah, like, I think the next year I had let people lead. So then as a junior, I was like, I got to go back to my old strategy and just go for it. And I was proud because I did finish up 3rd. I was actually happy with 3rd at that time. Like, that was a big stepping stone for me to not have won a race, but I walked off feeling like I had run my hardest. So that was, I was happy with it.
Yeah. Kathy, it was a good race for you too, really, because you've been hurt that year, hadn't you? And you ran really well. That might even have been a better race than the year you won.
Yeah, that had been a tough year for me as I had to take the track season off in the spring and then had a stress fracture over the summer. So I was just really thankful to be able to come back in the fall and race, and then even make it to Footlocker, and you get to race against Ashley and Jordan again and compete was just really a gift.
Perfect. So that leads us up to the race, the most iconic race in Footlocker history. So we have 3 champions coming back. You had Chelsea, who had been running like the wind and running well, won the NXN. You had the 2 girls that were going to win that. And then we get ready for the start, and the race goes off. Now, we're going to keep the screens on all of you so you can talk at any point as we show. And we're going to start the video. We've got it in about 6 different parts here as we go through. And you can tell the start, you're all looking at each other. And then lo and behold, this little girl, Mclaughlin, and with that style, it looks like the gun goes off and Allie takes off. And Allie looks like she's running as fast as she possibly can. And I think I even remembered commenting to somebody, I don't know if this girl just wants to get in the picture or what, but boy, she didn't let up. So let's watch the 2008 race.
Oh yeah, Jordan, there you are. Do you remember that? Giving Sarah Hall a high five and Ruben Reyna?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it was just that was one of my favorite parts, was just meeting all the professional athletes while we were there, and having them as our captains and getting advice. It was so cool. As Kathy and Ashley said, the whole Footlocker experience was really, really special. Like, you guys just put on such a great event.
So
were you guys thinking about each other? I mean, all three of you coming back, 1, 2, and 3 from the year before. Were you thinking before this even went off, like you were going to try and key off of each other?
I personally think everyone is super competitive and probably was just thinking about, the other title. I think there was a lot of hype going into this race too, around having 3 previous champions. So I know I was especially nervous for this one, a lot more nervous than the year before, especially since I'd won the year before. And can't speak for Kathy and Jordan, but I just remember going off and thinking, like, I want to win. I want to get that second title, but anything could happen.
Yeah, can we talk about the day before? Do you guys remember that? They made us all stand together back to back and try to be all superhero poses or whatever. Tough pose. It was just really funny. Everyone was really hyping it up. But I kind of felt, for me, it wasn't as much pressure as the other years, because I just I don't know, I just felt like there was 3 of us that had a chance, and whatever happened, it was going to be cool. It just felt, because there were others, there was less pressure on just me. I don't know if that makes sense. But
did any of you know about Allie by any chance? Did anybody recognize, because Allie had only been running for a year or 2 at that point. I think she's from Colorado, so she wasn't in your regionals. Did anybody know about her? Or did you get worried at all? Anybody?
Oh, nobody knew, huh?
Oh, I can go. Well, I was following her in the regional and stuff, and I just remember I was upset because I knew she was gonna take off and do that, and it kind of when someone does that, it almost it almost kind of ruins the race in a way. Well, I wanted to go with her, but I knew she would be going kind of stupidly hard, and I didn't want to die. So I don't know if I think you had a question in there where Kathy and I keying off each other. I think we were kind of all, I don't think, there wasn't a plan where we were talking to each other, but I think we were all just kind of feeling it out, and we knew that she would probably come back to us, but I think there was kind of a point halfway when we realized that she didn't come back as quickly as we thought. There was a point where I was kind of okay, we need to start going now, because she's pretty far ahead still.
It's funny, Ashley just raced a couple weeks ago. Ashley was in a race with Allie, and Ashley said her style looks exactly the same, huh?
I know. I remember this race too, Footlocker. I was just don't go out the first mile with Allie, because this is a hard course, and that hill comes up at the end, and you need to save it. And that's a good opportunity to pass, is going up the hill and then at the top of the hill and then coasting down. So I knew there was time, but like Jordan said, it becomes more worrisome when you get to mile 2 and mile 3 and she's still out there. In this race, she came back, and then I mentioned, it was funny, she still races the same exact way 12 years later. I ran a trail marathon with her 2 weeks ago, and she just went straight out to the front, but this time she held the lead. I was okay, I have 3.5 hours to catch her, and she just never came back. So sometimes that strategy works.
Hey, let's start the next clip. You'll recognize the interview here with the girl here.
I guess I'm a little more confident this year because after last year having to gain weight and then having a stress fracture and still being able to come back here and run well, this year I haven't had those kind of problems, and I've been able to be healthy and run continuously, so I'm more confident and looking forward to running hard.
So this is, we're getting ready to get, Allie's taking the lead, and again, everybody just kind of let her go. It was fast. It wasn't really that fast, so you guys must have felt pretty comfortable, but this is where you guys figure out somebody's got to do something, huh?
Kathy, when you were coming into this race, you had obviously run this course many times. When someone is out there like that, were you getting nervous, or what were you thinking?
I think by the time I'm in the race, there's no nervousness remaining. It's just kind of try and do the best you can and see what shakes out. I think I knew that was a tough strategy to keep up for a whole 5K against some of the top athletes in the country. So I think I was just trying to stay composed and stay with the main pack and trust that she would come back eventually. I don't think I quite caught her at the end, but a couple people did. So yeah, it was an exciting race for sure, and she did a great job.
Yeah, it probably would have been different if it had been one of you three out there. You other two would have gotten, oh, hey, there's no way we could let her go. But the three of you are all so close together, and Chelsea's right there, and Shelby Greeny, who was in her 4th year in the race also. You're all in that group. Alex Dunn, Jordan, someone you'd raced a lot during track and cross. I think you guys probably had a little bit of comfort in knowing, all right, if we're all here and she's out there, then we're probably okay. So do you remember feeling, Ashley, halfway or so that we're probably all right? Or at some point you said you got to worry about it? That's a pretty big lead coming down Upas there. She was moving.
Yeah, I think I do remember, like, just this is the way Allie races and the rest of the pack is behind her. So, I mean, she's either going to have the race of her life in which she deserves to win because she had the guts to go out in front, or the pack is slowly going to swallow her in lap 2. I just remember, take it easy, like feel good in the first lap and then make your move in the second lap, I think was kind of my race strategy going into this. And, like I said before, sometimes you catch her, sometimes you don't. But I give her credit for having the guts to do this. And she does this in every race. So it's a crazy strategy, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
There was a legendary runner, Emil Zatopek, that used to say how he used to train. He'd run into the forest as fast and as far as he could until he couldn't run anymore. And then the next day try to go further. And I remember thinking about that actually while Allie was running. She just looks like she's a girl who can't sprint, who's trying to sprint, and she's going to sprint for 5K. And she's that style. You're right, Ashley. It's the same every time. But here you guys start to make up a little bit ground. Jordan, were you ever confident? Did you ever feel like, I got this? Or did you say, I don't know, we're right in it?
Yeah, I remember during this part, she had really slowed down, and just knowing the course, this part, you can really gain some ground because there's that downhill and then the turn into kind of the woods and the slight uphill. And I remember that she looked like we could see her from the other side, and she was really kind of slowing. So I thought, okay, there's definitely enough time, especially knowing we had the hill. But I guess, well, we're kind of ahead of this, but the part for me was when that final downhill is super, super steep. And I just remember that no one passed me on that downhill. So I was kind of like, okay, well, no one passed me. And then I'm kind of like close. And so then, yeah, so we started to go. But yeah, that's kind of coming up. But yeah, she did slow kind of significantly during this part.
Very good. Yeah, I did. And she gets to the 2 mile, things start to shape up a little bit. But I remember talking to the time, we kept saying, well, there's no way. There's no way. And after a while, you go, well, wait a minute. There must be some way because nobody's catched her. Kathy, were you confident, or did you feel a little better? You had Ashley and Chelsea around you. You guys have raced so much during the year. Does that give you a little confidence that I'm okay, we're right where I should be?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think by that point I was thinking, well, yeah, it's good to be around the people who I know are tough and competitive and in a really good position to win. So yeah, I thought it was a great place to be.
And I think it's hard sometimes, with us going to Footlocker, a lot of times we're in these races where, we win pretty big. So having a pack around us is kind of like, a little nerve-wracking at times, but also very comforting. So that's what I was wondering with you guys. Were you waiting for someone to make the move, or were you planning to make a move? I mean, Ashley, we see you eventually here break away a little bit and close that gap. But were you all three starting to think, who's going to make the move? Is it going to be me or other people?
I think for me personally, I know I was just waiting for the second lap to really try to break things open. I think my strategy was definitely just feel comfortable, but stay in the lead pack behind Allie for the first lap and don't do anything crazy until you hit that second lap. And then if you have something left, go for it and see who goes with you.
It's just fun to watch how hard she's pushing though. I mean, she's so young and it's, you know, she's running so hard. And you guys actually looked very composed, but I remember being nervous for you guys. When I was doing the commentary here, I was like, come on, okay, we're running out of real estate here. If somebody wants to go, they got to go.
This is interesting. This is always where moves are made right here on that second loop. And I guess it's either I want to get rid of somebody before the hill or I got to make up the ground till we get to the hill. But it's that downhill and you lose the crowd a little bit there as they start to go away from it around that reflecting pool. But Jordan, you made the move. Then Ashley, you responded. So Jordan, was that the plan? I mean, at that point, I got to put the accelerator down and go.
Yeah, I just kind of felt like no one else was going. And so, look at me. It's funny because like now knowing what I know as a professional athlete and kind of keying off each other, I don't think there was any keying off anyone else. It was like Ashley said, my plan was just go hard the second lap. So then I was just going hard. And then Ashley came rearing by me. Like I can remember this point specifically. And that shook me a little bit. So like I said, I was just trying, at this point I was kind of like, okay, I accept, like third would be great still. And I was just trying to hold on. And then on that downhill though, no one really passed me and I was still in third. So we were all just kind of, like Ashley said, I think just trying to go get her.
Ashley, did you feel good? You're moving well.
It looks like I felt good. I mean, I think at this point you can really just, Allie was definitely within reach. There was more than enough time left to get her and pass her, and she had slowed down significantly after we had made the move. So I think this is when I was thinking like, okay, I could actually win this and we could, swallow up Allie and pass her.
Were you amazed when you came up on her? I mean, we all thought, this is great. This girl has really pushed it out there, but now it's just going to be, everybody's going to blow by her. God, and she had something left even still.
Yeah, she fought. I mean, I think she ended up fifth too. It's not like she died. She got passed by a few people at the end. So she ran a really gutsy race and still had an awesome result too.
I think Carrie, you were doing the commentary. I remember listening to it later that you said that very thing is, oh my gosh, she's not ready to give it up.
Yeah. When people go by you, it's hard to sort of regroup, and she definitely regrouped.
How about you, Jordan, at this point? This is just about a quarter mile to go when we hit the road right here, and they started to get away from you a little bit. Were you starting to worry? At some point, you must have thought, oh my gosh, I got to get going.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, right here, I kind of had accepted third, and then I could see that Ashley had gotten Allie, which I was happy, not to root against Allie, but I wanted one of the three champions to win, so I was like, okay, we're good. But then I was feeling pretty good, and then there was this lady, you make that downhill turn, and there's kind of a sharp turn, and there's this lady right by the tree, and she was just jumping up and down hysterically, and she's saying, you can get her, and it was one of those moments where I thought, well, shoot, I should just try, and so I just started going, and I started catching them, and then I caught up, and I thought I had watched different professional races, and I thought, okay, do I just try to kind of catch up and then stay with her a little bit? And I thought, no, I just got to make a real definitive move here, and I was just going. My legs were shot. But it was just so exciting, and there wasn't enough time to realize that I had won even. I don't think I realized it till a while after I'd crossed the line.
Kathy, you got your watch there.
Good thing. How else would I have known my time?
I know, right? We always did that. What a race, though, you guys. I mean, all three of you in the top 6 again, returning champions, and still smiling and still kind of like my heart is racing thinking about you girls racing, man. It's a pretty awesome memory for all of you, I'm sure.
So we need to find out who that lady was, that was yelling at you there. So we can.
I know, right? I just like watching everyone finish, like Ashling, like all these names, like we're still racing, and it's just funny. It's just funny to, yeah, my aunt, she still comes to every race, and it just really spurred us on in our future endeavors.
You know, I always like that moment afterwards. I think the pressure is off of you, all 40 of you. You know it's over finally. All you can think about is going to the beach and getting in the water or whatever else going to happen that day. But you guys all changed from, oh my gosh, to, oh, hey, this is pretty cool. It's a lot of fun. So we've got some of the interviews we actually did on that day. We're going to see a very young Carrie Tollefson right here also. So let's take a look at
Are you saying I'm old now, Tim?
No. Just younger then.
Okay.
Let's take a look at those interviews.
I'm here with 5th place finisher Mclaughlin. Just what a fantastic race. Tell us a little bit about your race today.
Thanks. I went out really fast, but that's how I always run. Like everyone was telling me this weekend, you don't want to go out fast, you'll end up last, and I heard all these stories, but that's how I run all the time at home, and it works there. And I changed it up a little bit for regionals, didn't go too well, so I told myself I'm gonna run how I know how to. And the bigger lead I make, the less more likely I am to get out-kicked, because I have a really bad kick, and so I try to build a lead so the less people I have to kick against. And because if I would have stayed with the pack, more than half the people would have out-kicked me, so I just went.
All right, I'm here with last year's champion, Ashley Brazman, and finished 2nd here this year. Exciting. What a crazy race, having Allie go so hard and you to close and then Jordan to come up on your side. What are your thoughts right now?
It was kind of a replay of last year, except Jordan passed me in the end, and Allie was really far in front after the 2nd mile, and I knew she didn't have Jordan's kind of speed last year, so I wasn't as worried, but it was definitely a tough chase.
Did you have fun out there?
I did. This whole experience, it's my senior year. I was just kind of like taking a c'est la vie, kind of take on the race and just kind of having fun.
Well, we hope you have fun tonight dancing and having a good time, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Ashley Brazman, one of the pre-race favorites. Of course, a girl we've been talking about for the past 4 years, Jordan Hasse.
You executed that race plan, and I don't know if that was your race plan, but your race strategy today to a T. And even as a professional athlete, I look at that and I thought she ran that perfectly. Was that what was going through your mind before this race even took off?
Yes, it's hard in this race. You have to be ready for any strategy, and what happened today was definitely one of the plans that we thought might happen. Someone takes off, and so I just tried to stay in the big pack and then catch him slowly, and it pretty much worked out how I was thinking. And yesterday during the course walk, I kind of ran the last 800 just knowing that this was where I need to run my fastest and make my move, and it just paid off today.
Well, you truly are a class act and so much fun to watch, and we are so proud of you and happy that you could come back, finish your senior year of cross country in style, and have a great future. We're so excited to watch you.
Thank you, Carrie.
I was just so honored to be standing next to you, Carrie. I was shaking.
Oh, funny.
That was great. So everybody's been a little busy, went on to college. Ashley went on to Duke, and Kathy on to Stanford, and Jordan on to Oregon. Carrie wanted to ask you a few things about those years following.
Yeah, well, Kathy, let's start with you, because I think you have some really exciting stuff happening in your life. You have a brand new baby. He's about 9 months old. Is that right?
He is. He was born in February of this year.
Can you kind of bring us up to date? Like, what are you doing now? And, after Stanford, what are you running anymore? Are you totally mommying? Because we know that's a hard enough job just by itself. What's going on in your life?
Sure. So I got married in 2015 to Aaron Holstein. And then in the same year, I started my PhD at Stanford. So we were living there until this past spring when my baby Nathan was born in February. I graduated in June. We moved from Stanford to Colorado in June as well. And then we bought our first house in July. So it's been a wild year. And now I'm mostly taking care of Nathan and working part-time a little bit.
Nice. And do you still run a little bit?
Just when I'm late and need to get somewhere quick.
I love it. That's great. Ashley, you had a big weekend. Just a couple weekends ago, you ran the trail US Championships, but also you have a really cool job. So we want to have you bring us up to date too. You were at the Olympic trials for the marathon last year. You got a lot of stuff going on. So fill us in.
Yeah, I like to stay busy. And Kathy, I didn't realize you were in Colorado. I'm also in Colorado. I got my master's at Duke after undergrad in energy management. And so I work in the energy industry, working on renewable energy and energy efficiency with local governments across Colorado. So super rewarding job focused on climate change, which I think is resonating a little bit more this year with all of the fires and air quality issues. And then also kind of stumbled back into running after grad school, moved out to Colorado more for my career, and then kind of just in my extra time started running again and ran the 2016 and 2020 marathon trials, but I'm more focused on mountain trail. So I'm more of a sub-ultra mountain trail runner for Hoka now. So kind of doing a little bit of both, have a full-time job, but also still dabbling in the professional running side a little bit more, less on the road, more on the mountain trails.
Yeah. What's next for you on your schedule? I know on your Instagram, you said you're taking a bit of a break, but is there something out there that you want to do? Western States, UTMB, something big like that?
Of course there is. Yeah, I think for 2021, I'm pacing an event in January, but after that, just kind of seeing how the year shakes out with which events get canceled and which ones happen. But yeah, I think eventually want to move up to like the 50K, 50-mile distance, try my hand in that, but probably mostly stick to some trail marathons and some overseas ultras next year. So we'll see what the cards have in store for me.
Love it. And Jordan, second fastest marathoner ever in U.S. history, 2:20. I mean, that was like maybe your pace that you were running at Footlocker, you now do it for 26.2 miles. So you're getting ready for Valencia, which is coming up. This has been a weird year, COVID, and you're still training professionally. You know, a lot of people have watched you and still have followed your career so much. How has your training been going leading up to this race, and how are they going to have this race with everything still happening?
Right. Well, I got my letter from the Spanish president to be able to travel there. So I think I'm good to go. I'm going to be getting a COVID test right before I leave next Sunday. So fingers crossed everything is good. And it seems kind of like London Marathon. They were able to be very safe and have us in a bubble situation. So I feel super grateful for the opportunity just because of all the other marathons being canceled this year. And it was kind of a rough year for me because trials, I was still coming off a hamstring injury. So it wasn't my best marathon. Was by far my worst marathon, but it was almost a blessing for me with the virus to be able to take a lot of time off after the trials. So really I took most of the year off after I heard the track trials were canceled too, because I would have tried for that. But the schedule kind of works out for me because I'll run this marathon and then have the whole spring to try to get my track legs back to make the 5K or 10K team. So I'm just excited and it's a blessing to still able to run in Footlocker, and that experience just really spurred me to want to be a professional athlete and meeting athletes like you, Carrie, and all the others there, and really seeing what it would be like to have that as my lifestyle. So I feel very grateful to Footlocker for inspiring me to do what I do today.
It's pretty cool that you guys are the three ladies that are representing this 2008 race. I mean, there were so many great athletes, and there still are great athletes coming out of the Footlocker history. But to watch that race again, can you guys just quickly, we'll start with Jordan and go back through Kathy and Ashley. Favorite moment at Footlocker? Maybe we already know your Ashley, but let's hear from Jordan. What's your favorite moment of Footlocker?
Well, there's so many different things. Probably everyone always says the dance afterwards, right? I was really nervous about the dancing. I remember one year, I think like Kathy, I was really nervous about it, right? And you're like, I remember we were in the lobby of the hotel and we were like, walking there together, and I just felt more calm because you don't want to go either. So it was like one of those things where it's past your bedtime, it's past all our bedtimes, and we're just like, okay, we're gonna go for a little bit, and then we all end up staying and having a good time. So sorry, I'm not talking about running at all, but that's kind of like the classic Footlocker is. I think if you ask most of the athletes, they would say other things besides just the race.
Mm-hmm. Kathy, what was your favorite memory?
Oh, there's so many, but one that I'll never forget is ice skating outdoors in 70 degree weather, looking at the Pacific Ocean at the Hotel del Coronado. That was pretty unique experience.
Beautiful. Ashley, besides winning, what was your favorite memory?
Yeah, I would kind of agree with Kathy. I remember the hotel was insane. I just remember getting there and the elevator had like a butler in it, and there was an ice skating rink, and then getting the whole South team together to go to the beach in the backyard was crazy. I mean, yeah, it was just like a stunning hotel, and it was really fun to kind of do everything with your little South team group and get to room with different people. So I would say the hotel was definitely my favorite part. I remember the dance briefly, but I was also on East Coast time and it was California time. And I just remember like, this is 3 hours more for me than everyone than the West Coast California people. So this is really late.
That's awesome.
This has been so much fun. It's great to see all of you again. It's great to see how well you've done. It's great to relive what was really a wonderful moment for us to watch, and that you all think of it so fondly now. So we want to thank all three of you for joining us. This really has been a pleasure. And then just like to remind everybody that we'll be back next week. So this was the #1 legendary girls race. You can try to figure out over the next couple days what the legendary #1 boys race, and it may not only rank as the #1 boys race in Footlocker history, but it may be the most important boys race in American high school distance running. So maybe that'll give you a little bit of a clue what our committee came up with. And we'd like to remind everybody that you can see rebroadcast of not only this one, the show today, but the one from last Saturday and next Saturday. They'll be up at Footlocker CC for months to come. So you can share it with your teammates, a good team activity if you'd like to share it. So once again, Ashley and Jordan and Kathy, thank you so much for reliving a great 4 years for all of us. Thank you.